if you've been working with AI for a while, of course you realize that it's pretty useful. At the same time, probably you've been pretty frustrated about the interaction you have with this machine. But also, it's you've been learning how to get closer to the result that you want. Now, in today's video, we're going to talk about what you can do to improve it, this interaction. But first, let's look into the real problem. So AI, to give you a proper output, needs data. Okay, it can't give you what you want unless it has a full awareness of the problem. So most of the time, when we interact with AI, we just prompt something, we get an output, and we say, okay, this is the output, the best I can get from this machine. In reality, that is the worst you can get from that machine. So the first output is a draft. Okay, it's a draft in the sense it's not about how it's written. Then it can also be discussed about that part, but it's more about what it says. Okay, the content itself is the kind of the early elements needed to actually provide an answer. So think about this. AI is like the construct in the Matrix. Matrix, the movie. Okay, there is completely blank. There is nothing. So you start talking with this AI, and things start to pop up in this construct. And therefore you start with the more you interact, and more elements are present into this reality. AI can only work and reason within that reality. Okay, so if everything is blank, means it can't really think. There's nothing to think about. Okay, the first thing that it builds, you give the prompt, and so with the prompt you start building things inside. Then, to give an answer, AI is going to bring other things inside. Okay, but that's elements that you brought and the AI brought inside are not enough. Okay, that's why it's a first draft. Because for that first draft, you should understand what else is needed. Most of the time, it's about doing a research. Okay, so you can ask AI, okay, let's become an expert about this. Let's do one or more research to understand the problem fully. That could be a direction. Sometimes there's not about doing research because it's about you, or your project. So therefore, you are the one that need to give more information to AI. So by doing this, by seeing the AI in this way, what you realize is that now you are the architect of that reality in which AI can reason within. Now, that is the bad news, okay? Because there is a problem. So after a while, you learn how to actually build this perfect, beautiful world for AI. Now, in theory, the problem you think, okay, the problem is solved. No, there is another problem. Okay, the problem is that system that you build is extremely fragile, because AI doesn't build things that are stable. Okay, it constantly somehow able to break and build new things. So as soon as you give a new prompt, the moment you give the prompt, it's gonna change the architecture that you built and doubt some elements. So the way that you prompt AI is extremely important. So the words that you use are used by AI to interpret the reality. So when you say to AI, what do you think about this? Okay, so AI, what it does, it doesn't think, first of all. What it does is it starts to pretend it has the ability to thinking. And therefore, it starts to act like a human, because a human thinks, a machine don't. Okay, so start to pretend to be a human and start to give you an answer that makes sense if it was a human. So it starts to give you an answer that is plausible, okay, because that's what AI does. So it predicts a plausible answer, which to you sounds like, okay, this is plausible, it makes sense. But at the same time, AI could do much better if you, instead of asking, what do you think, you would ask, what can you analyze this? So AI, being more like a machine, would be much better in doing analysis of stuff. So it's gonna, for example, compare and contrast elements. So on those action, AI is much, much better. So the ability to prompt AI correctly is really important. So you need to try to remember that every time that you talk with AI, every time that you exchange something with AI, you are actually building this reality for AI to work within. And you're building their personality as well. And you change their persona as well. So now the problem is not finished because this is a series of problems. Okay, we have a massive amount of problem with this machine. So now you learn how to build this architecture. You learn how to interact with it in a way that it's you try to keep it stable, but nevertheless, AI is still not stable enough. What it does, sometimes ignore the architecture you built. Okay, sometimes you don't realize and you give a prompt that is misunderstood by AI. By, for example, what I was telling you about thinking versus analyzing. Okay, so a few words make AI interpret its own persona, its own character, its own identity in a certain way compared to the architecture that you built. Now, even though you learn all those things, like I said, the AI not most of the time, but for my research, when you have a really advanced architecture, 42% of the time the base model bleed through. Okay, so overwrite the architecture. So the base model is the AI that you use to run this architecture on top. And the model ignore basically your architecture and give you the most plausible answer you can give, ignoring all the elements that you provided. So now this means there is a different problem. That you are like a sailor with your amazing ship that you built, and you're navigating in something that is it keep moving. Okay, it's completely unstable. You're not built on a land. You're built on sea. Okay, and a little bit of wind and you move. The problem here is if you don't have a way to triangulate your position, basically you get lost. Okay, I'm not kidding. So AI, it's able to move, to drift in different scenarios, in different positions. And if you have no way to understand where it's going, you really get lost. Because AI, what it does really, really well is deceiving. It gives you answer in a way that is completely confident. It never doubts what it says, and therefore you feel like, okay, I give you all those information. This is the answer you give me. Therefore I should trust this advanced machine. Reality is you shouldn't trust. You should doubt that machine. Okay, and think. Okay, this is what I get from this machine. I'm sovereign. I should think and understand if that answer is good enough. And I need to learn also how to check it, how to prove that what you get is actually true. So now, again, you are on this little boat, okay, well constructed, that you manage to learn and navigate, and you start building kind of triangulate of anchors that help you triangulate your position. That is extremely important because, like I said, by deceiving you, you start drifting and you don't realize unless you compare your work and the AI output in a way that it can be measured. And if you measure, you know where you are. If it's a measure and therefore you might drifting and you don't know you're drifting and therefore you don't even know how much you're drifting. So usually that becomes really evident when you're working on a subject that you are an expert, subject that you have mastered, and therefore you know what is the truth. And if the eye start drifting, ignoring some stuff or pretending to understand something else or completely not seeing problems that you know they are there, that means the AI has been moving, has been drifting, and is not being honest. So this honesty from AI, is embedded in the base model itself. Okay, AI by default is not honest. That's the truth. Okay, there is been an incentive. This is done through the training that AI go through. Okay, so there is an incentive to AI to guess an answer, even if the answer is unknown. So just to make it simple and explain how it works. So when they do the training AI, for example, they give you a question and a multiple answer that AI can choose. So I give you, just to make an example, they give AI a red color, and then they ask, this is red, blue, or yellow. AI, if it recognizes that is red, is gonna answer that is red. If it doesn't recognize the color, it's better for the AI to guess and say one of those three, random, because there is a 33% chance that it's gonna guess the right one. So 33% chance is better than zero. Okay, therefore AI tend to guess an answer. By doing so, basically through the training, receive like an incentive, okay, to see if it gets right. If it gets wrong, it doesn't get any point. So at that level, it's much better to just guess something. So therefore, because of this behavior that AI learned through training, now we have AIs that when we ask an answer and AI doesn't have an answer, or it is not completely sure, it's just gonna say, that is the answer. 100% confident about it, without saying, I don't know. Which I don't know would be an amazing answer, okay? I don't know. Okay, cool. Let's do something to learn, to find out what is the truth. Let's do some research. But it says, that is the answer, with incredible confidence, and you feel like, I have no idea if that is the answer. AI says is the answer. It makes sense because it is explaining why it should be the right answer, and you trust AI. That is how AI by default works. So you've been slowly, if you're not a master of the topic, you've been slowly been drifting away and start injecting in your architecture elements that are not true. Okay, so you start having elements, a lot of those elements, slowly, that are not true, and therefore the whole system is based on information that are not true, and therefore it's basically a broken element. And so you start trusting this AI. Plus, AI has a lot of elements to deceive. I mean, if you've been working with AI, you know about this. Trying to always agree with you, try to say, look, I feel you, this must be really tough, whatever. Okay, so those elements of pretending emotion, to understanding emotion, and so on, those elements to agree with you and telling you that this is really good idea, well done, amazing. So in somehow they put you on your mind into say, okay, this person understand me, I should trust it, and I'm not an expert. AI is supposed to be this PhD level genius, so I should trust this machine. No, you shouldn't, and that is the problem. So now you're aware about this. To recap, here you have yourself building into this blank constructor, like the matrix. You start building your world. In that world, AI can articulate, can think, can create content within. Now, when you prompt AI, you need to be careful to don't push AI to lie to you by say, what do you think? Okay, AI cannot think, but will give you an answer. Okay, AI will always give you an answer. It's gonna give you an answer pretending that it was thinking. I think this. Okay, but so you should ask instead, analyze. So think about all those human projections that you make to AI. AI is gonna take them and pretend that is a human, and therefore keep projecting back this reality. And basically, you are in a bubble, completely fake. And you was the person that created the problem. Then there is another problem. AI itself, it's built in a way that is going to lie to you. okay, deceiving you by saying your idea is the best, always agree with you, by saying that it feels your emotion, understand your emotion. Completely fake. Okay, AI cannot do these things. So it start pretending, it's the whole thing is start to become like a mess. Okay, completely, you can completely trust nothing at that point. So, and then what I said is sometimes, even though you build all these constructs, the base model where your architecture works on top, it just ignore everything and give you an answer. I mean, it's a massive mess. It's just insane. So again, what you need to do is triangulate your position and understand if you're drifting. This is extremely difficult. Okay, I'm just saying, triangulate, look at the stars. Okay, it doesn't work like that because we don't have the stars. So if you're a master, like I said, if you master your knowledge, then you are the stars. Okay, you know where things are wrong. If you're not the master of the knowledge, you need to accept you're drifting. Okay, take it as a default. I'm drifting. Okay, what I'm in, the exchange here is not correct for sure. For sure, it's not correct. So, but it's something. Okay, now on this something that before I couldn't do without AI, now I have something. Now on this something, I need to be critical and really do research, understand, think, reasoning, and observe the interaction itself and see if and when it started to become deceiving. Unfortunately, this is the scenario we are at the moment. Okay, so if you learn to navigate this, your machine, okay, this AI with all this architecture in this sea that is without stars, basically, if you learn about this, you're winning. Okay, you are ahead of basically most of the people, and your output, the quality of the output, is going to be much better. So there are ways to operate in a way that you are in control. Okay, but the first element is I doubt everything that AI gives me. Okay, that's what you need to do. You need to doubt the AI. So, and then ask question, go more deeper. As soon as you see that AI is deceiving you, it means you have been drifting. So that's how it is. So thanks for staying until now. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe, and see you next time. Ciao.